So I have this book on the making of Howl's Moving Castle by Studio Ghibli. It's full of concept art and character design, and this is what we're looking for. I used this design to make the base armature and sculpted Markl based on this design off camera using Sculpey. Once he's baked, I started painting. I didn't sculpt his little purse because I forgot. After I baked him, I sanded him down a little bit. He's still a little lumpy, but I think that's alright. Polymer clay is great because you don't have to prime anything, but I find using multiple coats of diluted paint is a good way to get an even coat and keep the paint from getting too plasticky. It doesn't matter if the edges are messy because I'm starting at the bottom, so everything's going to get sort of tidied up later. I mixed Markl's skin tone with a base of Cadian flesh tone, a little bit of Aerial yellow and a little white scar. For this project I used Citadel layer paints because I had some around and because I really like the way they layer. Then I'm painting the hair with this cooler burgundy colour, which was made from corn red, Aerial yellow and Cadian flesh tone. I use a wet palette so I can use whatever paint left over for more colours. A wet palette means I have a little bit more grace when mixing different shades. I'm making sure I get even cover across the sculpt because once it dries, any areas where I've missed will be really clear against the white clay. I did struggle with Markl's hair initially, just getting those spikes to stay upright, so I ended up using a small piece of wire at the very centre and then sculpting it around that. I moved on to the clothing. I went over the shirt with a thin coat of white and then moved on to the green of the waistcoat, which started as a little yellow with some warpstone glow green. I blended in a few shades of green just to get the impression of a little more texture. I want the darkest areas to be by the button, by the top of the waistcoat, and where the tie would be casting a shadow and where the fabric folds over itself. Then I moved on to the shorts, much the same as the waistcoat. There are some sort of ripples and bumps in the sculpt, so using them as a guide for where shadows are supposed to be and bringing in lighter and darker and blending them together. I like to use white Sculpey because it gives a little bit more freedom in what colours you're using. But the problem is it gets really mucky and it picks up everything. I'm lucky that it's not really coming through on camera, but it's bad. After that, I painted his socks and his bow tie. The socks I painted corn red. I made sure that the legs of the wire armature were a little longer than they needed to be. That just means there's something to stick into the base so that he can be glued down firmly. I painted the bow tie and shoes in a really similar orangey ochre colour. You can see I started to run out on the shoes, so it's really diluted. In the concept art and in the film, Markl's shoes have these little buckles on them, and I didn't include that for a really good reason. I used the dotter tool to start the irises, and then I went in with a really fine brush to make the irises a little larger, bring them up under the eyelids. In the concept art, Markl has this look. When he first meets Sophie, he's really skeptical and he doesn't trust her. When I sculpted him, I used pre-baked eyes. So once you lay the eyelids over and blend that in, after it's all baked, it gives you this really nice line you can follow for the lash line. That makes it a lot easier when painting. I painted his belt with a little Abaddon black, and I didn't get this on camera, but I finished his face, added the eyebrows, his mouth and the eye whites, and then I tidied them up a little bit. And that's it. I'm really happy with how he turned out though. It can be difficult turning a 2D image into a 3D object, and he has these big round cheeks, but I think he's cute. I put together a really simple base with some foam and some stirring sticks that I just had lying around. Thank you for watching.